Welcome to Veritas 101. We delve into the notorious schemes that shook the financial and biotech worlds, the Ponzi scam and the bad blood scam. The Ponzi scheme, named after Charles Ponzi, who masterminded one of the most infamous financial frauds in the 1920s, involves the use of new investors' funds to pay returns to earlier investors, creating the illusion of a profitable business. Conversely, the bad blood scam refers to the scandal surrounding Theranos and its founder, Elizabeth Holmes, who falsely claimed to have revolutionized blood testing. This episode aims to unpack the mechanics behind these scams, explore their impact on victims, and examine the regulatory fallout and legal battles that followed, providing a cautionary tale about the perils of deceptive business practices. The birth of the Ponzi scheme. The term Ponzi scheme originates from the swindle perfected by Charles Ponzi in the early 20th century. Ponzi, an Italian immigrant in the United States, launched his infamous scam in 1919. The scheme was based on the arbitrage of international reply coupons for postage stamps. However, it was essentially a facade to initiate one of the first major instances of this type of fraud. Ponzi promised investors outrageously high returns, 50% profit within 45 days, on investments in the coupons, claiming he could exploit pricing differences between countries due to fluctuating currency values. How and why people got scammed. The core mechanism of a Ponzi scheme is disturbingly simple. It pays returns to earlier investors using the capital of new investors. This model relies on a consistent flow of new investments to continue paying the returns promised to earlier backers. Ponzi's initial success and the seemingly legitimate and lucrative nature of his business attracted many. As word spread of the high returns being paid, more investors were drawn in, eager to partake in these extraordinary profits. The psychological drivers behind why people fall victim to Ponzi schemes include the lure of quick riches, social proof, and often, the charisma and credibility of the scheme's promoter. Charles Ponzi's affable and trustworthy demeanor played a crucial role in drawing investors into his trap. The scheme thrives on the too good to be true offer that clouds rational judgment by appealing to greed and the fear of missing out. The collapse and the aftermath. Like all Ponzi schemes, the structure is destined to collapse once the flow of new investor money slows down and there are insufficient funds to pay the promised returns. This inevitable downfall came for Ponzi in 1920, when the Boston Post began investigating and questioning the sustainability of his operations. As confidence evaporated, a run on the funds ensued, and Ponzi was eventually exposed. The collapse of Ponzi's scheme led to countless investors losing their savings and highlighted the need for regulatory improvements in financial markets. The term Ponzi scheme has since become synonymous with investment frauds where returns are paid from new investors' funds instead of profit earned by a legitimate business. The most famous case, the Madoff scandal. The most colossal and infamous Ponzi scheme in recent history was perpetrated by Bernie Madoff, who was arrested in December 2008. His firm, Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC, operated the largest private Ponzi scheme ever, which was estimated to involve around $65 billion. Madoff's scheme ran undetected for decades, attracting wealth from a wide range of investors, including sophisticated financial institutions, charities, and celebrities. His reputation as a former chairman of the Nasdaq stock market helped him build trust and credibility. Madoff's eventual arrest and the subsequent trial revealed the extensive web of lies and the failure of regulatory agencies to detect the ongoing fraud. Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison, but the damage done was irrevocable, with many investors financially ruined and philanthropic organizations severely impacted. The Ponzi scheme, from its inception to its most notorious instances, serves as a stark reminder of the perils of greed and the importance of due diligence in investment. It underscores the necessity for investors to remain vigilant and for regulators to enforce and enhance financial security measures to protect innocent parties from such deceptive practices. The genesis of Theranos and the bad blood scam. The story of the bad blood scam, a term popularized by John Carrera's book, Bad Blood: Secrets and Lies in a Silicon Valley Startup, begins with the founding of Theranos in 2003 by Elizabeth Holmes. A Stanford dropout, Holmes was inspired by the potential to revolutionize the healthcare industry through innovative technology. Theranos promised a groundbreaking device, the Edison, which could purportedly run comprehensive tests using just a few drops of blood from a finger prick. The technology promised to make blood testing quicker, easier, and more convenient, significantly impacting public health. How and why people got scammed. The allure of Theranos lay in its promise of revolutionizing a critical aspect of medicine, blood testing. The potential impact of such innovation drew attention from high-profile investors and board members, including prominent figures like former Secretaries of State George Shultz and Henry Kissinger. Investors poured hundreds of millions into Theranos, lured by Holmes's charisma, her compelling personal story, and her vision for a transformative healthcare breakthrough. The scam hinged on deception. Theranos technology never worked as advertised. However, through aggressive non-disclosure agreements, secretive practices, and misleading demonstrations, Holmes and her team were able to perpetuate the myth. The narrative was so compelling that even reputable partners like Walgreens began setting up Theranos wellness centers. The psychological drivers behind the scam. Investors and partners were primarily driven by the fear of missing out on what was billed as the next major breakthrough in tech and healthcare. Holmes's ability to secure endorsements from credible and high-profile individuals created a halo effect, further validating the company's claims. Additionally, the idea that one could significantly contribute to improving global health outcomes was a powerful motivator that clouded many from conducting due diligence. The collapse and the aftermath. The facade began to crumble when the Wall Street Journal published a series of investigative articles by John Carreyrou in 2015, questioning the legitimacy of Theranos technology. These reports exposed how the company had used commercially available machines for the majority of its tests and how its own technology was riddled with inaccuracies. The public and regulatory scrutiny that followed revealed the extent of the misrepresentations, leading to the company's demise. Elizabeth Holmes and former President Ramesh Sunny Balwani were charged with massive fraud. The legal battles culminated in Holmes's conviction on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy, for which she received a sentence of more than 11 years in prison. Theranos was dissolved, investors lost nearly $1 billion, and the scandal left a black mark on Silicon Valley's reputation. The Theranos scandal, often referred to as the bad blood scam, serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of hype and the importance of transparency and innovation. It underscores the need for rigorous due diligence and ethical leadership in startups. For the tech and venture capital communities, it is a reminder that not all that glitters is gold, especially when it comes to revolutionary claims that seem too good to be true. The tale is a stark warning against the perils of charismatic leadership unmoored from operational and ethical realities. The lessons from the Ponzi and bad blood scams are profound and multifaceted, offering critical insights into human psychology, regulatory oversight, and ethical business practices. Here are some key takeaways. 1. Due diligence is crucial. Both scams highlight the necessity of thorough due diligence. In the case of the Ponzi scheme, investors were dazzled by the promise of high returns without understanding the underlying business model. With Theranos, the technology's feasibility and operational results were not adequately scrutinized by investors or partners. A rigorous examination of claims and operations, coupled with skepticism towards outsized promises, is essential. 2. Beware of charismatic leaders. Charismatic leaders can blind stakeholders to potential red flags. Charles Ponzi's charm and Bernie Madoff's status as a finance industry leader played significant roles in their respective frauds. Similarly, Elizabeth Holmes used her compelling personal story and vision to garner trust and admiration. It's crucial to look beyond charisma and evaluate the substantive evidence supporting a leader's claims. 3. Regulatory and oversight mechanisms are vital. Both cases underscore the need for robust regulatory frameworks and internal oversight mechanisms. Effective regulation can deter fraudulent behavior by increasing the chances of detection and punishment. In Ponzi's time, regulatory systems were rudimentary, allowing his scheme to grow unchecked. Similarly, Theranos operated in an industry with significant oversight gaps, which it exploited. 4. Transparency and accountability. Transparency in operations and accountability in reporting are pillars of trustworthy business practices. Ponzi schemes inherently lack transparency, using new investments to pay old debts rather than generating legitimate profits. Theranos misrepresented its technology's reliability and accuracy, betraying stakeholder trust. Companies must foster cultures of honesty and openness, with clear channels for whistleblowing and auditing. 5. Ethical leadership and corporate governance leaders set the tone for company culture and ethical standards. The leaders involved in these scams prioritized personal gain and corporate success over ethical considerations and the welfare of their stakeholders. Strong corporate governance structures that promote ethical decision-making are necessary to prevent similar incidents. 6. Educating investors and the public. Educating investors about the warning signs of investment fraud and the basics of the technologies they invest in can reduce susceptibility to scams. Increased public awareness about how legitimate investments typically operate, such as the understanding that extremely high returns with low risk are improbable, can also serve as a deterrent. 7. The psychological aspect. Understanding FOMO, the fear of missing out, can drive otherwise rational individuals to make hasty decisions. Both Ponzi and Theranos benefited immensely from this phenomenon, as stakeholders rushed to invest based on others' actions and perceived success. Recognizing and resisting FOMO is crucial in making reasoned investment decisions. The Ponzi and bad blood scams serve as timeless reminders that vigilance, ethical leadership, and informed skepticism are indispensable in the business world. They teach us that while innovation should be celebrated and supported, it should never be at the expense of transparency and accountability. That's it for today's episode on Veritas 101. If you enjoyed our deep dive into history's most infamous scams and want more insightful content, please hit the like button and subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss out. Thanks for watching,